I'm here. Let's see what's on TV. I remember when lost my mind. The news, cops. Oh, you know what? I gotta make a poll. You can look inside you. Find out who am I to. Feel so damn pretty. Alright, let's see what live TV's hitting on today. A game show. 100 latinos dijeron. Limpiarse las manos, that's a good one. You can put him on the bed if you want. I mean, he's good now. He ate something. Now that you're not starving. At the end of the day, I have myself to blame. This is basically like Family Feud in Spanish. Ponerse guantes. That's a good one.
¿Qué no te gustaría que se le olvide hacer al doctor antes de operarte? Que no tenga apoyo médico. Que no tenga apoyo médico.
That answer was trash.
Se le olvidó no tener apoyo. ¿Qué enfermedad?
Anestesiarme. Lavarse las manos.
Robert, que no te confunda con otro paciente. Sí, déjate.
I mean, that's what I was thinking too, actually. Message retracted. Bro, why you always leave messages and then take them back? I didn't see it. I don't know what you said, but that's not the first time you've done that. Que no me confunda con otro paciente. Nah, that would have been my answer though. Do y'all drink coffee late at night? It's 8:45 and I'm about to drink a coffee. I already got it prepared. I'm just letting it cool down just a little bit.
que sepa cómo vienes, cómo andas, qué te pueden poner, qué te pueden quitar. Ahora sí, con $5,000 en la bolsa despedimos a la familia Ceballos, Mauricio Regui, Rubén Leslie, gracias por venir. Muy bienvenidos. Ahora, ¿quién va el dinero rápido de este lado? Van Carlos y Van Garvin. ¿Se llevarán los primeros 5,000? No se vaya, yo vuelvo.
One second, I need to check a text message. Chimichanga, tengo mi gavilla.
Se escucha, se siente más o menos así. Algo que dice, no se deje al alcance de los niños.
Algo tóxico,
¿Por qué no prestarías un cargador?
porque se pierde.
¿Con qué cierras una caja de cartón?
Con cinta,
¿Por qué te cambiarías de lugar en un cine?
porque no veo.
Además de milímetro, palabra que termina en metro.
Centímetro.
Se le entregaba.
That was too fast for me.
Vamos a ver qué tan nos fue. Preguntable. Algo que dice, no se deje al alcance de los niños. Dijiste.
Algo tóxico.
¿A qué te refieres con tóxico?
Insecticida.
Ok, ponemos en pantalla insecticida. La encuesta dice 3 puntos. ¿Por qué no prestarías un cargador? Tú dijiste. Ay, no, porque se pierde. La encuesta dice, nunca nos regresa. La encuesta dice 5 puntos. ¿Con qué cierras una caja de cartón? Tú dijiste. Cinta. La encuesta dice 31 puntos. Excelente. ¿Por qué te cambiarías de lugar en un cine? Tú dijiste. Porque no veo. La encuesta dice 37. Ya vemos muy bien. Además de
I love game shows, man.
con metro, tú dijiste. Centímetro. La encuesta dice 31 puntos. 107. Excelente. Pasa de este lado rápido. Recibimos a Carlos de la cabina del silencio.
Howdy, partner. What's up, bro?
Don Carlos, ¿estás listo?
I'm watching the Spanish equivalent of Family Feud.
En el reloj buscamos las 5 respuestas principales. Si te trabas con una, me dices paso. Si hay tiempo, volvemos al final. El tiempo corre cuando yo termino de leer la primera pregunta. Si me duplicas una respuesta, escucharás. Me tienes que dar otra respuesta. Súper. ¿Listo? El tiempo corre cuando yo termino de leer la primera pregunta. ¿Qué dice así, vista al frente, concentrado? Vamos por $5,000, Carlos. Algo que dice, no se deje al alcance de los niños.
Las
Mira,
tijeras.
¿por qué no prestarías un cargador?
No tengo batería.
Me lo destruye. ¿Con qué cierras una caja de cartón? Con cinta. Otra. Con cuerda. ¿Por qué te cambiarías de lugar en un cine?
Mucha bulla.
No escucho. Además de milímetro, palabra que termina en metro.
Milímetro.
Otra. Metro.
Ah, you trash.
Casi lo logramos. Estuviste así. Pregúntame. Algo que dice, no se deje al alcance de los niños. Tú dijiste. Vidrios. La encuesta dice
0. You trash.
muy mal. Era pedir
The host can't possibly be more obnoxious than Steve Harvey. No, definitely not.
prestarías un cargador.
He's pretty chill, actually.
Lo destruye. La encuesta dice 19 puntos, mejor un poquito.
Wow, 19 points for that.
Devuelve. Era la respuesta número 1. ¿Con qué cierras una caja de cartón? Tú dijiste. Cuerda. La encuesta dice 28 puntos. Mejoró un poquito cinta. A decir para la respuesta número 1. ¿Por qué te cambiarías de lugar en el cine? Tú dijiste. No escucho. La encuesta dice 47 puntos.
Wow. I thought his answers were trash, but he just won, so shows how much shows how much I know. Rolando, do you like drinking coffee, bro?
Porque hace mucho ruido la respuesta número 1 y al final
Oh, see, my answer was number 1.
metro. No llegaste, pero también era centímetro y ya le habían dicho, ya tienen $5,000.
My answer was number 1. I thought I got 0 because nobody said it. Like, duh. I should have made my poll. Is 9 p.m. too late to drink coffee? Because I'm about to drink it anyways, but I just want to know what y'all think.
Cine Estrella TV te trae Amar a Morir.
Amar y vivir.
Es que otros dejan atrás. Hasta hace poco se sabía poco sobre estos monos
Remember
multitalentosos
that show, Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? I was in fifth grade watching that show, thinking, what effing school
pero
does
los
fifth
últimos
graders go
años
to?
se ha
Man,
descubierto
they
que
prep
los
those
estados
kids, man.
disponen en sus tropas de más de 200 efectivos.
I used to think people just pulled up to game shows. Like,
Trabajan en tal número y aún así
how do I
no
explain it? Like, more or less, they have study materials.
con tanta competencia cerca, no es sorprendente que
Night
las
before,
personas
your videos are so inspiring to me. Thank you so much. Respect. I don't know which videos you're referring to, but
tal de los
the fact that it's any of them, that's amazing. And I'm happy that I could do something like that for you.
entonces
If you ever want me to make a
no hay
specific
hacer
video,
frases extensibles para la garganta.
just let me know and I will do it.
Después de un forraje frenético, hay tiempo para
I don't
masticar.
really post that many videos. Not because I don't want to, but mainly because I'm like, I don't really have anything to talk about. So usually what happens is
Una vez que
somebody will comment on my video
relajarse,
or one of my videos, even if it's an old video, they'll say like, how do you deal with this? Or how do you, um, what's your trick for this? And I'll be like, oh, that'd be a good idea for a video. Or sometimes people just say, can you make a video about this? And I'm like, yeah.
los ángeles
1
malvados
second, I gotta grab my coffee.
comienzan a pestañear.
Phew. Almost fell out of the bed trying to grab my coffee.
Pero en lugar de romper sus nidos, los atrapan mientras duermen,
Oh, that's the good stuff, baby.
atados uno por uno.
I made a video with this guy today, and it wasn't early in the morning. It was like 11 o'clock, but I went to sleep late. So I was like, I need some serious caffeine to wake up. So what happened was in the beginning of the video, I was so tired that I was like probably barely talking.
Hablar cosas
And then
motivantes.
the caffeine hit me and I was
Esas
probably just
historias
talking too
motivantes
much. So that's gonna be an interesting video when he posts it.
pasan de mucho tiempo un misterio. Hasta
Spanish learning. A question. I'm at the intermediate level right now and I'm worried about my accent and not being able to roll R's. Will this improve with listening over time? I
este pequeño antílope normal
that's a tough one. I don't know how long you've been learning. One thing I will say is like from a linguistic standpoint, R's are the hardest sound to make. Like even if you think about like little kids in English or Spanish,
tomar consejo
you will hear that they have trouble with R's too. The difference is when you're 4 years old, no one's like, oh, you don't say your R's correctly. They know that with time, you will begin to say them correctly. But you're an adult, I'm assuming, and you're like, oh, I should be able to do this.
concertada.
But it's a sound that you haven't been making your whole life. So
En primer lugar, mi voz es
it's
increíblemente
definitely
aguda.
tough. I find that
Antes se había demostrado este
some people
concepto
pick it up earlier than others, but that depends on how you talk in English. So, like,
todo
I'll give you an
depende
example. In the South, specifically black people in the
de
South,
cómo trabajes tu
in
vocabulario.
certain parts of the South, Florida, some parts of Texas, we make a noise sometimes. Like when we're racing, we'll be like, oh, he's out of there. He out of there, out of there, out of there.
Y
And
es
so
que
once I kind of connected that, once I'm like, oh, you know what? I already know how to roll my R's.
estas
It became a
expresiones
lot easier.
ayudan al uso correcto de
But
tu
one thing I
vocabulario.
can say, I don't have like any contact info for you, but if you like email me or something like that, I can send you some videos. There's some
Puedes
like
reemplazar
linguists and different types of people that help people pronounce things that have like little tricks.
cualquier cosa
Um,
desde razones
because a lot of
básicas
times people just don't know what they're supposed to be doing with their tongue, so they're like putting their tongue in the wrong spot because they're thinking about English.
Los ángeles
And sometimes you just need an explanation of where your tongue is supposed to be, and you'll be like, oh, okay. But if you can just go like if you can make that sound like pretending like you're a car, you can roll your R's. You just kind of have to learn to do it in the middle of talking. And I sound so native. Thanks, I appreciate it. One thing I will say though, the closer you are to the beginning of learning, upper intermediates and advanced speakers will sound native to you because like you're like, wow, you're having conversations and blah blah blah. But you know, the more you learn, the more you start listening to people, and you're like, actually, you don't sound so native. You sound good, but you don't sound so native. So, but I appreciate it though. Yo, Rolando, we're twins. This is black, and it's with one or two sugar packets. I actually don't know if I put one or two. Two's like my absolute max. Usually, I don't even put sugar packets in, but for some reason, I did it. So, not being able to roll your R's will negatively affect your pronunciation of the rest of the word. You should also know when to roll them and when not to. I agree with that. But here, okay, here's one thing I'll say in opposition to that, Rolando. There are some countries and accents that do not roll their R's. For example, Costa Ricans, they don't roll their R's. Not the beginning R's, anyways. Not the beginning or the end. Um, and so it's tough to say that you have to do it. I definitely think that it's the right thing to do if you're not Costa Rican, because to me that's like it's something very specific. Just like Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, how they don't pronounce the R at the end. I wouldn't recommend practicing that unless you're gonna have that full accent. So if you're going for a neutral accent, you definitely want to roll your R's. The thing that makes it important is that you can completely change a word by not rolling the R or by rolling it. For example, the word ahora means now, right? In some places. But then ahorra is to save money, ahorrar. So if you don't roll that R, you might not get the message across. Someone probably could figure it out through context, but there's just certain places where the R definitely you would want to roll it. Now there's some places that roll their R's more, like in Colombia, they roll their R's for everything, bro. Like literally every R is rolled. Like they don't have a lot of soft R's. It's like very intentional for emphasis. Specifically Cali. I don't really like to talk about the country as a whole because I haven't been everywhere, but I lived in Cali, so but like they would like they won't say like mierda. They say mierda. 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 Spanish does not regularly have. Oh wow, Rolando's getting real linguistic on us. Those accents that you mentioned have lax vowels on account of them not rolling them properly. Like the I and hip. We need you to expand on that, Rolando. Everyone isn't a linguist in this chat, all right? But to sum up the last 10 minutes of my rambling, um, I wouldn't go too hard on yourself, but I also wouldn't give up on it. Like, don't tell yourself, oh, I'll never be able to roll my R's. Keep trying. Like I said, there's some places where it's more important than others. There's some words that you need to roll it. The beginning, the beginning of a word, if the word has an R in the beginning, it needs to be rolled. If it ends in R, it needs to be rolled. Now those middle R's, more subjective. But that was a good topic. I like talking about stuff like that. Hold on, I need to open my oatmeal cream pie. Yo, this was the worst part about living in Colombia. Like these kind of snacks don't really exist over there. They have like they have snacks. Don't get me wrong, but they don't have extremely fat snacks. Their chips don't have as much flavor, which is more healthy. But sometimes you want to eat something real unhealthy, bro. Once you've been exposed to so much flavor and sweetness and stuff, you're like, bro, I gotta have this every once in a while. Can you tell me an example of a Colombian who always rolls their R's? What do you mean? When I say always, I don't mean always. I just mean in some places where it would be softer, it's not soft there. I'm not saying like they would say, like, I'm not saying that they would change all that, right? I'm not saying that they would put a hard R there. But for example, let me think of a word. It's usually words where the R comes after an N, or there's a couple other letters. But for example, sonreír, right? Some people don't say that R is hard there, and other people like really roll it. Colombians would roll that. Or like I said, mierda. Some people don't say that R is hard. But also, I would have to show you some clips or something, man. But it's something that's almost comical. I think it would be comical if that's not who I learned from. It doesn't sound that weird to me, but I know it sounds weird to some other people sometimes. On the topic of lax vowels, I was referring to how the Spanish I is always E and never I, like in the English word hip. And the I in hip can be called a lax vowel. There's also a debate if Latin had lax vowels or not. Okay, I got you. I think that's the beauty of Spanish, man. You know, it's so hard to teach English. I mean, I think I'm sure everyone in the chat knows I teach English online to Spanish speakers. And it is really hard to explain all of the sounds that English has. Like, for example, in the last English class I taught, she asked me, she was like, is we're different than were? And I was like, oh, yeah. And she was like, but that's the same thing as, well, she was saying them all the same. She's like, were, and were. And I'm like, nah, where, we're, were. Like, those are three different sounds. But it's the same letters, like, for the most part. Obviously, one has a H, one has an apostrophe. And she was like, "Those are different sounds," and I'm like, "Yeah, where, weird, and were don't sound anything alike." But if you don't make those sounds in your language, of course it sounds the same to you. You're just like, what? Like it's a E, bro. Like how can it make these different sounds? Or like you said, what you call it, the I. Their I never changes. So I try to get them to say certain words and they'll say, like my skin is itching, and I'm like, yeah, skin itching, and they're like, itching, and I'm like, yeah, no, not really, but we're gonna get there though. Ah, drank all my coffee. I'm sad, but yeah, in that sense, I'm not gonna say Spanish is easier, but in that sense, Spanish is easier than English. It's so phonetic. You always know how to say a word. There's never a question. It's never, oh, is this Arkansas or Arkansas? It's never that because the letters always make the same sounds, which is really cool. There's probably like, there's a few sounds where they say this is like not necessarily phonetic, but for the most part, it's like 99% phonetic. It irritates me when native Anglos say they're pronounced the same. Who says that? You're saying they say there, and there are pronounced the same? See, one thing that happens in English too is that a lot of our language is like context driven, and so you don't have to pronounce stuff like super correctly. Um, like for example, like I said before, we're and where are not pronounced the same. But if I said like, "Where are you?" you wouldn't be confused. Like that can only be "Where are you?" Even if I say "Where are you?" "Where are you?" Like it doesn't matter. So I think that is part of the reason people think things are pronounced the same because they actually don't pronounce them differently, even though they should. I feel like there's a bunch of words like that though. Sometimes I hear people pronounce stuff and I'm like, I don't know if they just pronounce it like that because they were speaking fast or if they don't know that that's not how you pronounce it. But then again, like we talked about before, is language descriptive or prescriptive? If everyone's doing it, is it wrong? What's the difference, Rolando? I mean, I know the difference, but what's the difference in the pronunciation? But yeah, there's a couple of things like that in Spanish. I always tell people like you should obviously try to pronounce things correctly. But for the most part, if you mess it up, you will still be understood if it's not crazy. But at the same time, there's a few things in Spanish that I'm like, I wouldn't want to mispronounce that, bro. Like a lot of things that have inye, like I wouldn't want to say coño on accident instead of cono. I wouldn't want to say cumpleaños. Like that's just me personally. So that's just me. In Italian, double consonants are broken up, so it's also it's like I know, I know, I know, Italiano, I know, I know, I know. I'm gonna get canceled for being racist to Italians. I'm sorry, Italians. Qué tontos, qué locos. Somos tú y yo. I think I told you this before, but the Spanish N is an abbreviated double N. And I think I told you this before, that I knew that before you told me. Bro, I'm such a a random reader. Like I'm not a focused reader. So I will know something like that and I would not be able to tell you anything else. I mean, I'm sure you know that. Like you come with too much linguistic talk and I'll be like, don't know what you're talking about. But I'll just know random stuff like that because literally at some point I literally was like, why does this N have this mark over it, bro? Like, where did this come from? And then I read the story about how it came to be, and I'm like, interesting. I don't want to know anything else about linguistics. I just wanted to know that. You think Night Before heard anything we said about his question? Well, luckily for that person, this live will be posted when I'm done, so they could always just watch it again. Rolando, are you on a computer or something? Your phone should have it, no? This Israeli dude never came back. Yeah, no, he didn't. But you know the other thing too, bro. A lot of people lurk in here. I've found someone will pop up, they'll talk, and I'll be like, man, haven't seen you in a long time. They're like, oh, I've been watching, I just haven't been commenting. Don't know why. I can't stop them from doing that. If you want to just watch and not say anything, I can't stop you. But I don't know why you would do that when I'm here to talk. Oh, you're on your MacBook. Well, bro, I remember at one point in time on my laptop, I had an Arabic keyboard because I would use what is it called? What is it called? Like when you're the things that help disabled people. I can't think of what it's called, but I was using a keyboard that wasn't the keyboard. You use your mouse to click the keyboard. And so I know that they have that on your computer, on your MacBook. You can bring up the whatever it's called. Um, and then you'll be able to change the keyboards from there or access a different type of keyboard. Trust me, it's on there somewhere. You just gotta probably go to the settings and change your keyboard. I cannot think of the word that I was thinking of. Accessibility? Is that what I was thinking of? There's a section on phones and computers. I think it's called accessibility. Whatever, doesn't matter. Helps disabled people. Qué tontos, qué locos. Somos tú y yo. Estando con nosotros llamándonos.
Puntos a triple y le preguntamos a 100 latinos. Hay 4 respuestas principales en ese tablero a mis espaldas. Traten de darme la respuesta más popular. ¿Por qué cancelarías tu suscripción?
I'm gonna try to stay on here for a couple of hours tonight. At least 2 hours. That's why I started a little bit earlier. Try to at least go to about 10:30. Mi chonga, tengo mi gavilla.
Sobre mí, no sobre mi blog.
Mm.
No, sí.
De repente, los nómadas podían
I paid $930 for this MacBook Air. I also have, well, what? A Lenovo? I never even heard of that.
Fue una gran oportunidad.
Lenovo IdeaPad, which I paid $220, and I don't think the MacBook is substantially better. At least not enough to justify a $700 difference in price. I feel like that about most things. The only thing I won't give up is my iPhone, bro. But most everything else, bro, I go with the cheaper options. Like, I'm like, even if it breaks in a few years, it's probably still cheaper to replace it every couple of years than to buy whatever the most expensive thing is.
Una búsqueda eterna de comida y agua. Tienen sed.
Dev Puddle. Been watching and listening to Spanish a lot this month. Recently started learning. Dope. How long have you been learning? When you say recently, how long is that?
Pueden morir. Para los elefantes,
Ooh, I almost ended the live. That was an accident.
para sobrevivir. El desierto es
Lenovo? What, like, where's that brand from, bro? I've never even heard of that. Obviously, I'm not a tech guy because that just
la experiencia.
sounds completely foreign to me.
Ella sabe
Lenovo.
pero los elefantes ya han caminado 50.
It's not even a top of the line Lenovo.
Eso no remete las cosas. ¿Y qué? ¿Cuándo me lo pensabas decir?
Oh, it's Taiwanese. Interesting.
Los pacientes en coma responden muy bien a las voces de la gente que quiere.
Es por lo que vivimos la última semana. Sé que son cosas muy difíciles de vivir. ¿Qué más da?
I need a different show to watch. I'm not feeling this. Hey, no. You want to get down? I'll put you down. Hold on. Come here. Come here. Lenovo is the brand you get if you want a Windows laptop. They're the best Windows laptops. Interesting. That little tech crash that happened the day before yesterday or yesterday, did that affect you or not? A month, seriously? That's good, man. How important is speaking initially? I try recording 5-minute videos of what I learned. I think speaking is important But like at the same time, I think in the beginning, listening is super important. Listening to native speakers, but it doesn't hurt to record those videos. For one, you'll be grateful in the future when you can look back at those videos. Um, but also, yeah, it's good to practice. It's good, kind of like in a space repetition type of thing, because recall is different than um, just remembering. Like active recall is different than passive recall. So if I told you a word, you might be able to say, "Oh, I know what that word means." But if you need to think of that word, you might not be able to think of it. So those little 5 minute videos that you're doing, it's gonna help your brain be able to actually recall the words that you learn. So those are good to make. I think you should do that as much as you can. It's only gonna help you. Hey, no, leave that alone. This is the first I hear of this. What? Bro, they literally like were grounding flights. Everyone was freaking out. They thought it was the end of the world. Like literally half of the world could not use their technology for I want to say an entire day, bro. They said some update or something messed everything up. They said it was absolutely not hacking. I believe them, but I was like, this is not good, bro. If it's this easy for everything to just shut down. Hey, stop. Stop. I was too busy listening to corridos. From who, bro? I'm sure you saw Biden dropped out, right? Can't trust my dog, man. He's too sneaky. Gotta keep an eye on him. Got to find a different show. Go to VIX. If you want to watch the most obscure Spanish speaking movies, shows, you should get the VIX app. I've seen so many like random comedies that I'm just like, yeah, this is never gonna touch mainstream anything. I recall you saying the alphabet was important to learn, but I don't see why. What? What do you mean you don't see why? All right, get this. Oh, how did it help you? Okay, but all right, get this. If you don't know the alphabet, you won't be able to read, bro. You you literally won't be able to read. That's pretty important. To be able to read a word and pronounce it, or to know when someone else says a word, oh, it's probably spelled like this. But you want to know how to pronounce each of those letters so that you can start to pronounce words well. If you don't know the alphabet, if you don't know what each word letter sounds like, you're probably not pronouncing words well. Um, yeah, and Spanish is super phonetic, so the letters, the vowels, they always make the same sound. So once you know it, you know it. Very, very important. But it depends on what you're trying to do with your life too, man. You can definitely be illiterate and still have conversations. Depends on how far you want to take it. If you want to be seen as intelligent, if you want to be able to understand the things that are being said to you. Here's another thing too. Being illiterate in a language that you've spoken your whole life and being illiterate in a language that you're learning are different to me. You have no choice but to cope and adapt when you live 20, 30 years in a language where everyone around you speaks a certain way. You have to figure stuff out. If you can't read, you figure things out still. That's a lot harder to do when you're 1 year into something and everyone around you isn't even speaking it. So it's not like you get a bunch of context clues and stuff like that. Definitely important. For example, in English, if you didn't know the alphabet in English, you wouldn't know the difference between we're, where, and were because you don't know any of that stuff. Like, you would only know it in context when someone says it, and you still might just be like, oh, these are all three the same word. But they're not, though. I got a hunch that Chinese and Russian hackers could bring this country to their knees if they really wanted to. Have you seen the movie Leave the World Behind that the Obamas produced? It's a very good movie. It's about just that, actually.
Ay, Torito. ¿Bueno te cansas de perder o qué? Dios, ¿no te cansas de hacer trampa? Con esa cara, caminar, que solamente fue una chance a caminar. ¿Qué pasó ahora? Camina pues. Pero al menos invita a limonada. Ah, después no te preocupes, que en la casa siempre hay limonada.
Where is my chopstick?
No, que le... Nos vemos luego, ¿sí? Dale, Carlito. Chao.
In school, I was told not to write. Oh, you put use and write. Not to use or write contractions in professional writings. Were you told the same? Yeah, it's definitely a more informal thing. That's like in the same vein as writing numbers as the numbers instead of the word. Um, I was that's just something that's my point. There's certain things that you learn growing up in a language that you probably don't learn as an adult. And so of course when you get 30 years of this, that, and the other, it's easier to adapt to whatever. That's just the way it is. Image GPS systems go down an entire day. No, I haven't seen those movies. It's just one movie, Rolando. Leave the World Behind. You should watch it, bro. It's pretty good. Did you ever get unmotivated during your language learning journey? Um, do you want a complicated answer or a simple answer? My simple answer is yes, for sure. If you want a complicated answer, I'll give it to you.
Fíjate por mi cicla que la tuya ya no aguanta más. Y por eso es que siempre te gano. Yo te la recibo, pero te la pago. Entonces son $20 con nada. Yo les doy para cuando nos volvamos a ver.
Don't even think about it, little doggy. Stay away from the door. So far, I've read short stories and I watch a couple YouTube channels, including yours, for guidance. That's good. Like I said, it's super important to listen. In the beginning, it's important to uh, to hear native speakers as much as possible. You want to get as much input as you can. It's just like a little kid, right? A little kid hears talking all day. He sees he or she sees stuff in context, and that helps you understand things better. Reading is good, but for me, and this is just my personal opinion, I think reading helps you more when you get to a higher level. Um, it's always good. I read in the beginning too. I just think I get more out of it now than I did then. Like it's good with out of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like abstract things, like intangible things. But the best thing for like everyday stuff is learning in context, hearing people say it. I got so many examples, man, of like in the beginning of my journey. Like sometimes I'll go to like parties and stuff, and I would stop, leave it alone, stop. Shh. There would be concepts that I would struggle with, and I would hear someone say it out loud in real life, and I'll be like, "Oh, I get it now." Just because I would be watching them do something while they said it, and I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense." Dragon Day is a similar movie. It was kind of crazy when newer cars weren't able to be driven due to the cyber attack. Makes you think. Dragon Day. Never heard of that. I'm gonna check that out. Kraken. Look who it is. The guy who never sent me his comedy video. You got scared, didn't you? You thought I was gonna make fun of you. But yeah, like I was saying, reading is good. Listening is super important. I always tell people listening, speaking, reading, and writing are four different skills, right? And so you really got to invest your time in the things that you want to get the most out of, right? So to have conversations, what do we need to be able to do? We need to be able to understand what's being said to us, and we need to be able to respond in a somewhat timely manner and effectively. The only way those skills are going to get better is by doing them. If you only read books and you never listen, you're gonna feel lost when people are talking because they're not gonna say the things the way you would have said it. Still need to record it. Bro, that was like a month ago, wasn't it? You slacking. This guy is procrastinating. Have you watched the classic Destino series? Nah, I don't know what that is. I don't think I do. Maybe I do, and I just don't know the name or something. What is it? Like, what is it? What is it about? ¿De qué se trata? But yeah, I remember, like I said, I have so many examples, man. Like, I remember one time, ironically enough, I learned a lot of things from adults talking to little kids. Cause I'm like, oh, I remember one time I was at a party when I first started learning Spanish. And they're like, maybe in the weeks before that, I had really been trying to get the concept of like the verb, the person, and then the thing. It's like like where do I put me? Where do I put lo? Where do I put la? Blah blah blah. And there was a little kid, and the mom had to. She was like a toddler, maybe like a 3-year-old kid, and she dropped the kid dropped the phone, and she kept saying, "Tráemelo, tráemelo. And I'm like, oh, I see. Like, you can just link them joints up all up together. Tráemelo. Okay. And then just little stuff like that. Um, just from like people telling me stuff like, cuando vayas, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh, I get it. Because like it's something I'm actually gonna do and it's in the future. I need to say vayas instead of vas. Like, oh, like the stuff will be connecting because I would learn it in context and because I was listening to native speakers. Just like the way we learned English. There's some things, and actually, some of those people will probably be in the chat. I give them a hard time, but it's all love. But we got some people in the chat that learned English as their second language. And they say funny stuff, man, because they didn't learn as children. So a lot of things that they learned are from books and from people that are also not native English speakers. And I just be like, let me tell you something. We would never say that. It's a word. It exists, but we would never say it. Hey, stop. You're not going out. Cut it out. But yeah.
Gracias. Vas a ver que Estados Unidos te va a gustar. Es un poquito diferente, pero vos siempre has sido un muchachito del mundo.
No te preocupes por mí, ma.
Te prometo que no te vas a arrepentir. ¿Viste mi nuestra casa? Ay, linda. Además, la casa de la tía es muy bonita, muy grande. Yo creo que hasta
My
te vas
dog
a
wants to
tatuar
leave the
todo
room
eso.
so bad.
¿En serio? Sí. Wow, Charlie. Hey, estás grande, has crecido mucho. ¿Ah? Sí, gracias. Bienvenido.
Y te vamos a buscar un colegio donde puedas terminar tu bachillerato, vas a hacer amigos. Vos nunca has tenido problema con eso, a vos todo el mundo te quiere.
Yeah, the funniest thing about Colombian cinema is that I don't know what they got going on, but they just reuse the same actors for everything, bro. If there's ever a Colombian in a show, you will find them in 10 other Colombian movies and shows. The guy, a guy will play Pablo Escobar in one series. He'll play Pablo Escobar's enemy in another series. He'll play Pablo Escobar's son in another series. And if you just look at the actors in all of the shows, look at the actors in Narcos, look at the actors here, you'll be like, I've seen this guy before. And so every time I watch a Colombian show, I'm always just like looking at them and I'm like, what show have I seen them in before? Because I know they've been in all of the shows that I've watched. But they're such good actors and they have such good makeup that you can't even tell when you first see them. You're like, I know this guy from somewhere, but I don't know where from. Old 90s show is to introduce people to Spanish. Woman travels to different Spanish speaking countries, Spain Spanish. Oh, I definitely didn't watch that then. I'm not into Spain Spanish. Not at all, my friend. There's a handful of shows that I've watched that have Spain Spanish. But for me, the show, like the plot needs to be really good if I'm watching a show with Spanish, because I don't really like it. But you know, one movie that I really liked that had Spanish, uh, I can't remember what it's called in English, El Ojo, but it wasn't. It's not a direct translation. In English, it's the platform. The platform, great movie, and it's in Spanish. Great, great, great movie. Hey, stop. Cut it out. The platform. And there was a TV, there was a series that I watched that was pretty good. I have to look it up. It's like a show about a serial killer that goes to jail, and he paid like a group of like mercenaries to come break him out, and they locked the jail down, and it's pretty crazy, but I can't remember what it's called at the moment. And then of course there's the Mexican Spain crossover show that's legendary, La Reina del Sur. That's that's a good one. But outside of that, not really my thing.
No vas a decir nada, ma. ¿Mm?
Yo, yo no puedo creer lo que vos me estás diciendo.
Estás pensando que yo me inventé toda esta mierda, ¿cierto?
No, 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 no sé, yo, ¿por qué es eso? Pues que no, es que no sé qué hacer, ¿qué hacemos?
No sé, no sé qué hacer, mamá. Llamemos a la policía, hagamos un escándalo acá, pero hagamos algo,
No,
ma.
vamos, por favor. La policía no, si se lo llevan.
Eso es lo que tienen que hacer, mamá. Ese centro es una cosa. Húndelo.
Mi amor, ay, vamos a ver. Mira, yo no tengo peso, yo no tengo papel.
Just
Yo no
uh,
tengo nadie en este país, yo no.
any Colombian show recommendations, bro? I got 100 of them. It kind of just depends on what you like, man. There's, like I said, Colombian TV is deep, man. So I know people that like narco stuff. I know people that don't like narco stuff. Typically, Americans like narco stuff. Everyone else doesn't. So if you like that stuff, I can tell you some shows like that. Um, there's one that's about a bank robbery. Pretty good series. It's called. I'm trying to think of what it's called in English. It might be called like the Great Heist or something like that. But in Spanish, it's El Robo del Siglo. Um, what else? There's a show called La Nina. La Nina is one of the first shows I watched in Spanish. And it's about a girl who gets kidnapped by La Guerrilla, and she's living in the forest and stuff, and then she um she ends up like getting reintroduced into society and trying to become a doctor and stuff like that. Very good series. Um it's like based in Bogota, so like those people have, I would say, some of the most clear Spanish in the world. That's a personal opinion, but lots of people say the same thing. Lots of people will say those Colombians speak very clear to the point that if you're low level intermediate, you will probably be able to understand a lot of the things that they say in shows like that. Um, Now you might not know a lot of the words, but you'll be able to be like, "Oh, what is that word? I can look it up." Versus some of the like shows that I watch or like where I used to live at in Colombia and Cali, like you might hear the word and you still like, man, I can't even pronounce that shit because they speak like very differently. So La Nina, The Great Heist. It's kind of hard to think on the spot. I gotta like look at my history or something. Um, there's a classic, Betty La Fea, Ugly Betty. Obviously, you got Narcos. The accents are kind of weird in Narcos, but you're not gonna be able to tell if you're a beginner. You're just gonna be like, oh, Colombians. Um, I there's a show, El Cartel de los Sapos. That's one of my favorite shows. But that show is about the Cali cartel, and that Spanish is different. That is, if you don't already have a pretty high level Spanish, you're just gonna be like, bro, what are they talking about, bro? So, because if you don't already know, in Cali, a lot of times they talk with el voceo. So if you're not used to that, it's gonna be tough to understand. And that's even if you have a high level Spanish. Now, if your Spanish is not high level and you don't know el voceo, it's gonna be rough. I already saw your message before you retracted it. Anyways, I'm guessing you're about to change the U to a O, but it's too late. I saw it. But yeah, those ones I just listed, pretty good. Hey, stop. Stop. Cut it out. I actually watch Ugly Betty. Mm, yeah. Like I said, if that Spanish is difficult for you to understand, that's a good place to. You should keep watching that. Like I said, some of those other ones that I mentioned, they are the fast talking regions of Colombia. So you don't want to jump to that if Ugly Betty's hard to understand. But when you're learning in the beginning, everything is fast. But over time, like you'll be like, oh, okay, like these people definitely speak slower than these people. These people speak more clear than these people. All of that is like subjective too, because for example, I don't know if Rolando's still in the chat, but Rolando will probably say that Caribbean Spanish speakers speak fast and they're hard to understand. Not to me, because Caribbean Spanish speakers and Caleños taught me Spanish. Um, whereas, like, on the contrary, a lot of Mexicans, I'm like, damn, it's hard for me to understand these motherfuckers because the slang is so different. The rhythm that they talk is completely different, and you underestimate how much rhythm matters until it's a different rhythm, and you're like, I wonder if he just said what I think he said. So yeah, like I said, all of that stuff is subjective. So whoever teaches you, whatever you listen to the most, you're gonna be more accustomed to that, and all the other accents are gonna like be more difficult for you. Um, like I said, Mexicans and Spaniards, it's not like I can't understand them, but it's just like a lot of times, like if they're real street, like if they use a lot of slang, I'll be like, ooh, like I'm gonna have to ask him to say this in regular people talk and not slang. Cause there's a lot of different phrases that if you're from roughly that area, if you're from that country or neighboring country or something, You will understand all the context of that word or that phrase. Like Mexicans say que pedo a lot. And I'm always like, bro, they literally say this for everything. How do you know when it's bad, when it's good, when it's this, when it's this? But it's the same thing in Colombia. Like la vuelta or Cuba pues. Like that can be a greeting, but that could also be like, what's up? You trying to fight? Like, but it's not hard for me to understand that because those are the people that taught me. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing in English. So you know the difference between hey, what's up and what's up then. Like it's different. So like I said, whoever you learn from, you're gonna have an easier time understanding them. The more stuff you watch from a country, the more conversations you have with people from a certain country, you'll get really accustomed to their stuff, which is not a bad thing. It's just a choice you have to make. Um, for a lot of people, Mexicans are the people that they interact with on a daily basis. You know, if you live on in the south of the country, you probably interact with a lot of Mexicans, or you would interact with a lot of Mexicans. So then it makes sense to learn your Spanish from Mexicans. But maybe you have stop. Shh. Get away from the door. Yeah, cut it out. Yeah, maybe you have a friend like me. I had a friend that was Colombian, so that's where I learned from. His family's Colombian, so that's where I learned from. Um, those were my beginnings in Spanish. So I was just like, well, this is just what it is. This is the direction I'm going because this is who I talk to 5 times a week. I'm not gonna be watching a bunch of Mexican shows because I don't. I want to understand what he's saying. This is my friend, and then once you get further along, then you can start branching out. You can do whatever you want. You can listen to everything if you want to. But like I said, you probably have a group of people or a certain type of people that you're around more often than not. And to me, it would probably make more sense to learn that. I don't know if Nick's still in the chat, but he was living in San Diego, I think, and then he was living in Tijuana. So like, it would make sense for him to speak Mexican Spanish. Like, it would be a little weird. Not It's not super crazy, but it'd be a little weird if he was just like, I'm gonna learn Dominican Spanish, and he doesn't know any Dominicans, never encounters any Dominicans. You can do whatever you want, but sometimes it's like, why are you doing that? It would be like if, like, imagine some dude in China and he's studying English and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna learn the countryest Alabama accent possible, and then he talks like that. If you don't go to that country part of Alabama, everyone that you talk to is gonna be like, why did you pick that accent? Like, why did you focus on the most rural part of Alabama instead of like, I don't know, New York or some place that you would probably pull up or people would be from, stuff like that. Yeah, it's crazy that people really used to hitchhike. Also, another hilarious thing that happens in Spanish speaking series is that the show will be like clearly based in Colombia or wherever, right? And because of that, they don't get an American actor to play an American. They play someone that speaks a decent amount of English. And I'll just be like, this is not a dude from New York, bro. Like, this is a Colombian. and it's hilarious every time. They'll have like some DEA agent that comes in and like they make him speak in English as much as possible, and it's hilarious, honestly.
Okay, ladies, here we go. Enjoy. Everything okay, guys? Here we go. Estos son tacaños, hombre. Sus chichipatos alubias.
Chichipatos.
Pues, ¿qué pasa? ¿Qué? ¿Seguir ahora? No, pues lo de siempre, pero voy a necesitar que me hagas un descuento, sí. Te quedaste sin nada. No, yo tengo dinero. Es que estoy esperando que me paguen.
I'm in Pennsylvania, around mainly Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, but focusing on Colombian. But why? I mean, like I said, you can do whatever you want, right? But what I will tell you is that you're gonna get in conversations with those Puerto Ricans, and you're gonna be like, "What are they saying, bro?" And you're gonna be like, "I wish that I invested more time in listening to Puerto Ricans." And like I said, you can do both. Like for me, every single one of my friends, let me make sure. Let me make sure I'm not leaving anyone out. All of my Spanish speaking friends are either Puerto Rican or Colombian. So I do half and half. I lived in Colombia for, a year, but the first person to ever teach me Spanish was Colombian. All of my friends at that time in country in America were Puerto Rican. So I ended up having this uh, mixed up Caribbean accent, which is fine. But basically, Puerto Ricans tell me I sound Colombian. Colombians tell me I sound Puerto Rican. Depending on the stuff we're talking about, depending on the words I use. So you can do both. Um, but I would not just like ignore Puerto Rican content if I were you. If you're around a bunch of Puerto Ricans, I promise you, you're gonna wish that you listened to some Puerto Rican stuff because they talk very differently. Um, yeah.
Quiero irnos a volver. Oh, vení. Hazte, man. Yo creo que alcanza con esto, pues. Lo que me dure el fin de semana, no. No, pero ¿a qué más? Marco. No, pues ahora todo el mundo anda. Ya voy.
Do, 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 do. See, I told you this actor. I know him from.
¿Sí o no?
He's from El Cartel de los Sapos.
Es que esa jamaiquina como que no tiene power. Definitivamente la mejor es la colombiana, la punto rojo.
No tiene power.
Está carísima. Claro, pero por eso es que necesitamos conseguir más billetes, yo te he dicho. Soy yo pensado para eso. Pues que nos va a tocar enviar otro encarguito de los que sabemos para Colombia.
They're the first people that ever send drugs. They had it too easy, man. Like until the feds figured out how people were sending drugs and stuff, they had it too easy, bro. Like if you really wanted to get in and out of the game back then, you probably could. It's hard to track people down and stuff, man. You could send a couple shipments, get some money, flee. Now you got no chance. You have to be real connected, pay bribes. You still might get caught. They had it easy. Not that I would want to do that. I would not want to be a drug dealer, but
¿Viste la mona esa que estaba allá en la pista? Ya, no lo sé. Vamos pues que estoy que me vaya. Pero guarda eso que es lo que hay. Vamos pues.
you have a great night too. If you ever need any help, like I said, just ask me. You can send me an email. You can leave a comment on a video, whatever. If you ever want me to make a video about a specific topic, grammar concept that you're struggling with, or anything, just let me know. Wow, it says 5 people are in here. Who's in here? Listen, man, let me tell y'all something, man. I get on here to talk to y'all. That's the only reason I get on here. Not really for my benefit so much. So I really don't have a problem with y'all just listening and not talking. But it's more fun when y'all talk. So sometimes I look at the thing and I'm like, what? This many people in here and they're not saying anything? I said I like it like that. I need to turn this down. Every once in a while, I'll be watching a show and then I'll get a copyright strike on my live, and they'll be like, "You listen to a popular song and copyright strike." I like it like that. I like it like that.
Ahí fue. Ay, mira este papayazo, man. Ah, Charlie. No, ¿qué es esta belleza, hombre? Charlie, está de luz. Navidad, pues. ¿Sabes qué?
They're about to steal this car.
Esta nave en Medellín, papá. ¿Qué tú dices? ¿La hacemos? Claro, puñeta. Lo llevamos al puerto y que lo manden en el primer barco. Que diga, va. No, no pilas pues, mirando para allá. ¿Qué tú dices? ¿La hacemos? Claro, puñeta. Lo llevamos al puerto y que lo manden en el primer barco. Que diga, va. No, no pilas pues, mirando para allá.
I'm gonna try to stay on until 10:30, but if there's no one else in the chat, but it's too quiet, probably get off in the next 5 minutes. Why would you run in the car, bro? This guy's an idiot. Well, if nobody else shows up, I'll get off in
Ah, ¿qué tal está? ¿Ya es amigo?
4 minutes.
Herman va a estar contentísimo cuando lo reciba en Colombia. ¿Ya? Bueno, súbelo al barco antes de que alguien lo vea. Partimos 10 minutos, ¿sí? Hágale pues. Me tendrá que me encontrar. Che, espera, vamos, sube ya, vamos. No, 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 espérate, si me subo a ese barco no me voy a poder bajar después. Tú eliges, o te vienes con nosotros para Colombia o te vas a ir a la cárcel. Vamos. Nada más, ella no se encarga.
Si no sabes vos, imagínate yo. Me llama 5 minutos en la vida, 5 minutos de la mañana. Ay, Dios mío, ¿será que le pasó algo?
Pues, ¿qué te digo, mamá? Si en un par de días no aparece, yo mismo me llamo. ¡Herman! ¡Me da alegría, pues! Papito está acá. Hablamos luego, mamá. ¿Qué le puedo ayudar? Dale, hermano, no te preocupes, el hermano de Herman. A mucho gusto, Nacho. Nacho, ¿qué tal, señor? ¿Cómo de la nada que lo traje?
Dun 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 dun. 3 more minutes.
Creció mi hermanito.
Nobody's talking, so I'm getting off at 10:10.
Pues es que te viniste nadando detrás del barco, hueles a pescado, huevón. Te imaginas, luego te cuento la travesía que viví. No sabía que ibas a traerme personalmente el encargo. Bueno, pues digamos que fue un empujoncito del destino. Pero estoy contento de estar en la patria, hermano. Imagino que Colombia ha cambiado mucho después de tantos años, ¿no? ¿Qué va, hombre? Te digo que vamos de para atrás es un piropo. Más. Oíme, Carlitos. Te estaba buscando porque tengo que darte una noticia. Ah, pues. Es mi papá. Herman, deja el misterio. ¿Qué pasó con mi papá? Camina para la casa y te das un baño. Y te traes un traje porque lo vas a necesitar.
Dios te salve María, llena eres de gracia, el Señor es contigo, bendita
2 more minutes.
todas las mujeres y bendito es el fruto de tu vientre.
Unless somebody says something that stops me.
Nunca piensa que los papás se van a morir hasta que pasa. Pero hay una cosa. Aun cuando no hablamos en todos estos años, yo pensé mucho en vos. Y hasta llegué a entenderte y perdonarte. Yo no te tengo rencor. Sé que nadie es perfecto. ¿Y quién soy yo para juzgarte, no? A fin de cuentas, tengo más de vos que cualquiera de mis hermanos, ¿cierto?
You wanna come up
Vamos
here?
a cruzar.
1 more minute, y'all.
Auf Wiedersehen, papá. ¿Y vos qué? ¿Te pensás quedar por aquí o qué? No, no, por ahora no. Necesito volver a Estados Unidos apenas pueda.
No digas Carlitos. ¿Sacaste la visa?
No, no, pero necesito volver. ¿Por qué no te quedas? No, Herman. Quédate mono. Tú por allá de mesero no pagas.
All right. I'm about to go because there's nobody else in the chat. And I don't want to sit here by myself for 20, 30 more minutes. So it was good chatting with y'all. I will see y'all the next go around. Peace.